Chapter 1. The Monster Horse. January 1973. Hello. My name's Michael, but everyone calls me Egghead at school. It's true, my head is bigger than anyone else's and my body is quite small. Everyone agrees that it's the right name for me. The other children call me this name all the time. That's why I don't like going to school. The children in my class are horrible to me and make me feel bad. They never call me Michael. They always call me Egghead. But I'm lucky. I've got a friend who I talk to all the time. He's not real. I can't touch him or see him. Nobody can see him. He's invisible. He's inside my head. You see, his name's Andrew, and he helps me. Nobody else knows about Andrew. He's my secret friend. He's the only one who doesn't call me Egghead. He hasn't even got a head because he lives inside mine. Andrew is my best friend. He always tries to help me. When I have a problem, I ask Andrew what I can do. He tried to help me at school the other day. Our class is going to read a poem for the school assembly next week, said our English teacher, Miss White. The head teacher will be there. One of you can read it to everybody in the school. It's called The Monster Horse, and it's by Ian Sorella. Who would like to read it? Do it, said Andrew. You can do it. I know you can. My hand went up. Miss, I'll do it, I said. I liked reading. Then I could hear people in the class laughing. No, Egghead can't do it. I'll do it, said Stephen Foster. Well, said Miss White, you can't both read it. I know. Why don't you both read it now? Then the class will decide which one is the best. Bad idea, Miss White. I had to speak first. Read it as if you're a horse, said Andrew. So that's what I did. I read all the poem like a horse. The Moonsteer Horse by Ian Sorella. Now I could hear more people in the class laughing. Miss White told them to be quiet. But when people start laughing, it's difficult to stop them. In fact, if you tell them to stop, they laugh even more. When I finished, Stephen Foster read the poem. It was boring. He read it in a normal voice. He didn't try to sound like a horse at all. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Stephen, said Miss White. Now, let's decide. Who do you want to read the poem? Hands up who wants Michael to read it. My hand went up. I looked around the class. Nobody else put up their hand. The teacher looked a little bit confused. At first, she didn't know what to say. Okay, she said. What about Stephen? Everybody except me put their hand up. Hooray, shouted the class. Down with Egghead, shouted a boy. Quiet, said Miss White again. That's decided then. Stephen will read the poem at the school assembly. Miss White could see my face. I was trying not to, but I was about to cry. I remembered what my dad said and what Peter said in my favourite book. The Railway Children. Big Boys Don't Cry. I think that, Michael, you did so well. Why don't you read the title of the poem at the assembly? Said Miss White. The class started laughing again, but I didn't feel unhappy this time. Andrew was right. Now I was able to read at least the first bit of the poem. The title. That really is the most important bit. Without the title, you have no idea what the poem is going to be about. So thanks to Andrew, I read the title at the school assembly, in front of the whole school. Even the head teacher was there, smiling. The Moonsteer Horse by Ian Seralia. That little bit, and then Stephen read the rest. Andrew thought I was very, very good. Mr. Wilson teaches us art. He's very old. He's got white hair, and he wears a big winter jumper, even when it's really hot. I like him very much. He teaches us to draw. Drawing seemed so difficult before I met Mr. Wilson. He taught me to draw this picture. All you have to do is draw the number 3 and then add a line to the top part of the number. Then you add some more lines, some going up and some going down. After this, you just have to add a few more things, like a boat and the sun. And that's it. Can you see what it's... Can you see a boy on the cliff? That's me. I'm reading my favourite book, The Railway Children. One thing I like even more than drawing is reading. I spend a lot of time in my bedroom reading books like Treasure Island, Anne of Green Gables, Robinson Crusoe and Gulliver's Travels. When I read these books, I forget that I'm an egghead. I live inside the story. I love my books. They always tell you the same story, but you can add things to it. You can imagine that you're there as well, looking for secrets or discovering an island. Andrew is always there with me as well. I also play football by myself. I'm both teams. My bedroom door is one goal, and the kitchen door is the other goal. All the different teams play, except England, of course. How can I be both teams if England play? England will always win. Freeman has the ball. He passes to Andrew. Andrew shoots. Goal! I use a balloon when I play, so I don't break anything, and I only play when my mum and dad are out. I never tell mum and dad about school. I want to tell them, but I don't want them to know that all the other children call me Egghead. Then maybe they'll call me Egghead as well. So it's a secret, just between me and Andrew. Now it's Sunday evening. The weekend is nearly at an end. I've got to go back to school again tomorrow. Another 5 days of school, I say to Andrew. What am I going to do? Don't worry, says Andrew. I'll be there with you. Everything will be okay. Thank you, Andrew, I say. I try not to worry, but it isn't easy. Every Sunday evening, Mum makes me a hot chocolate drink and she lets me watch Planet of the Apes on TV. It's always a special moment, but even though I really enjoy it, I can't stop thinking about school. Tomorrow I'll have to go back to that place. I can't wait to be old like Mum and Dad. Then I can stay at home, read my books, play football, and watch the TV as much as I want. Chapter 2. A Day at School, February 1973. It's Monday morning. I hate going to school. I have to walk up this big hill and I feel quite lonely. This morning it was very foggy and I couldn't see much in front of me. I felt better when I saw that the old man was there. Halfway up the hill there's an old man who always sits on the same bench. He wears a hat and he has a very big grey moustache. He has a kind face and he always says hello to me. "Hello, cherub," he said. "Hello," I said. "It's very foggy today." "Yes, it is," he said. "Be careful you don't fall down." I have to be careful. That's why I've got this walking stick. When I'm older, I want to have a walking stick. Then I can use it when I go for a walk in the woods. I love the woods. Sometimes my dad takes me. He always pretends that we're lost. I know we're not lost really. Dad knows the woods really well, but I pretend we're lost as well. It's very exciting. After speaking to the old man, I went to the sweet shop. The lady there is always nice to me. I didn't want any sweets. I just wanted to say hello. "Hello, Mrs. Jarvis," I said. "Hello, dear," she said. "Put your hat and scarf on. It's very cold out there." "Okay, Mrs. Jarvis," I said. I put my hat and scarf on and went out again. I felt quite good now. I belonged. This was my street, and nobody called me names here, or made me feel small and stupid. When I got to the top of the hill, the school was near. Then I stopped feeling happy. I looked around, but I couldn't see the school. I couldn't see it because of the fog. Maybe it's not there anymore, I thought. I started to pray. "Please, God, take the school away. Make it go away," I said. I walked down the road to school. I still couldn't see it. I got nearer and nearer, and nearer and nearer. And then I saw it. The school was still there. I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I had to be strong. Maybe today will be better, I thought, but it wasn't. It started as soon as I went into the classroom. "Oh no, it's Egghead," said Kevin. "I didn't see your ugly face this weekend," said Clive. "Where were you?" "At the zoo." The other boys and girls in the class laughed. I don't know why. It wasn't funny at all. "Quiet," said Miss White. "Today we're going to do some exercises about—" "Don't listen to them," said Andrew. "Just do what Miss White says. Don't listen to Kevin or Clive. They don't know what they're talking about." Lessons were quite easy. I didn't have to work too hard. I always knew the answers to Miss White's questions. I didn't always answer her, though. I didn't want the other boys and girls to notice me. I finished the exercises very quickly. Then I waited for everybody else to finish. While I waited, I looked out of the window. How I'd like to be in the woods now, I thought, or at home reading my book, or talking to the old man. But here I was in this classroom, waiting for the lesson to end. After half an hour, Miss White said, "Okay, class, it's break time. I'll see you in 20 minutes. We want more men. We want more men." At break time, the boys shouted this, walking around the playground. They walked together. Boys joined them as they marched around. It was like a very long chain. When the chain was long enough, they would play a game together. It was very exciting. I tried to join the chain. "We want more men. We want more men." "Get out, Freeman. Eggheads can't play," said one boy. "Yeah, leave the chain now. We don't want you to play with us, Egghead," said another. So I left the chain. I sat in the corner of the playground, watching the other boys and girls play. They were having so much fun. Why couldn't I join? Why do I belong when I walk up my hill, but not here at my school? What did I do wrong? "Don't worry," said Andrew. "You're doing nothing wrong. I'll think of something." Thank goodness for Andrew, I thought. He was always there for me. He's so important and he really wants me to be happy. At lunchtime in the school dining hall, Andrew was still there, helping me. "Be careful," he said. I was at the table, having my school dinner. "That potato is hot." "Thanks, Andrew," I said. Everybody tried to finish their potato very quickly. When it was cold, it was impossible to eat. It tasted horrible and you have to finish all your dinner. You can only leave when you finish everything, so you have to eat the potato very quickly. After lunch, we had a history lesson. Then school finished at 4 o'clock. That was the best time of day for me. Finally, I could go home to my bedroom. I could read my books, and nobody called me names. I was thinking about this when I heard some boys on the other side of the road. They were shouting something. "Oink, oink, it's bacon," said one voice. "Bacon, piggy, piggy, piggy," said another. They were some boys from my class. They were shouting at David, a boy from another class. The boys in my class called him Bacon. David was just in front of me. He was bullied a lot, just like me, because he had a very red face and he lived on a farm. People are bullied for the most stupid things. But at that moment, I had a stupid idea. If I fight David, the others will like me, I thought. And so I ran up to David and jumped on him. Then I held him down. This was my chance. "Look," said one of the boys on the other side of the road. "Egghead has got him." "Well done, Egghead." At first, I was very happy. Maybe now they'll like me, I thought. Maybe now I'll belong. But then I turned and looked at David's face. It was the face of somebody who was always afraid. The face of somebody who was hated for no reason. It was a face like my face. Why am I doing this? I thought. This is wrong. I'm sorry, so sorry, David. I don't know why I did that. Please forgive me. Then David and I heard another boy from the other side of the road. Ha, ha, ha! Look at them. It's Egg and Bacon. Egg and Bacon looked at each other, and at that moment we understood each other. At that moment, we became friends. Chapter 3: Egg and Bacon and the Invisible Ball, March 1973. Finally, I've got a friend, a real friend. His name's David. Every day we play together at break time. The other children call us Egg and Bacon, but we pretend they're not there. The other day, we made a promise. David, let's play together all the time. I'll never call you Bacon. Will you promise that you'll never call me Egghead? I promise, said David. What shall we do then? I asked. Let's run, said David. David likes running, so at every break time we run round the playground. The playground is very big, but sometimes we even run round it 10 times before we have to go back to the classroom. 10 times. Just imagine. We're going to run every day, said David. One day we'll run for our country. You'll see, we'll become famous, and then nobody will bully us anymore. That seemed like a very good idea, and so we ran. Every day we ran. When we ran, we felt free. When I ran, I forgot school. I forgot about all of my problems. But things can change very quickly at school. One day, after running with David, I went back into the classroom. We were going to do geography. Graham, what's the capital of Sweden? Asked the teacher. This was so easy, but not for Graham. Copenhagen. No. Oslo. No. Wait a minute. Sweden. No. What was the question again, miss? While Graham was changing the map of the world, Kevin said something in my ear. Pooh, Egghead. All that running you do, he said. Why do I have to sit next to you? Anyway, I read in the newspaper that it's bad for you to run too much. Your legs can break. It was always the same. Whatever I did, someone had something bad to say about it. Could my legs really break? Probably not. But this was something I had to speak to David about. Really? Said David when I saw him. Our legs can break. Well, we have to stop then. We're running too much, and if it's dangerous... What are we going to do now then? I asked. David didn't know about Andrew. Maybe he had a secret friend as well, but I didn't know for sure. At that moment, Andrew had an idea. David couldn't hear it, but I could. Andrew said to me, "Bring a ball to school. You can play football." What a brilliant idea. I didn't tell David about it. I wanted it to be a surprise. The next day I brought a football to school. It was a beautiful ball. My Uncle Terry gave it to me for Christmas. It was red and white, like the colours of Arsenal, my favourite team. David and I started to kick the ball around. I pretended to be an Arsenal player, Charlie George. He scores lots of goals for Arsenal, and David pretended to be Pat Jennings. He's a brilliant goalkeeper. But soon something incredible happened. "Come on, Egghead, pass the ball to me," said a voice. It was Kevin. He started to play with us, and then Clive came, and then some other boys. Soon there were about 20 children playing football with us, Egg and Bacon. I couldn't believe it. It was brilliant. When lessons started again, Kevin said to me, "Bring the ball tomorrow, Egghead. We'll play again." So that's what I did. Soon we were playing football with the other boys every day. But then one day, the fun stopped. We had to stop playing. It was all because of Mr. Williams. He was the PE teacher. One day, we started to play, but then he blew his whistle. "Stop, boys," he shouted. "This is too dangerous. The ball is too hard. Play football in the park, but not at school." The other boys went away. I picked up the ball and put it in my bag. "Oh well, that's another idea gone wrong," I thought. "Bring a smaller ball," whispered Andrew. I heard Andrew and smiled to myself. The next day we were playing football again, this time with a much smaller ball. It was soft and difficult to see, but it was better than nothing. For 3 days we played with the small ball. At first Mr. Williams didn't say anything, but then he blew his whistle again. "Stop, boys. No balls in the playground. Put it away, Freeman." So that was that. Oh well, I thought. At least you tried, Andrew. That's the end of football for us. But Andrew had one more idea. "Play with an invisible ball," he said. The boys were just about to go away when I said stop. They all looked at me. "What is it, Egghead?" asked Kevin. "I've got a ball here, look. It's so small that even Mr. Williams can't see it." I started to kick the invisible ball up and down. "I knew it," said Kevin. "Egghead is crazy. What's he doing?" Then I kicked the invisible ball to David. David kicked it to Clive. Clive kicked it to Kevin. And then something incredible happened. We were all playing invisible football with an invisible ball. It wasn't as good as a real ball, but it was still great fun. Now when the boys shout, "We want more men," they let us join the group. Now we're a part of something. At the weekends, I often go to David's house. His house isn't like mine. He lives on a farm. It's very exciting, and there are a lot of things to do. We catch insects and help David's dad to collect the eggs from the chickens. I'm glad Kevin and Clive aren't here when I do this. I also help to give the pig his food. His name's Hector. Sometimes David and I have tomato battles. A tomato battle is really quite simple. David's mum and dad grow a lot of vegetables and they can't eat or sell them all. Some of them go bad. We use the bad tomatoes for our tomato battle. We both find a good hiding place and then we throw them at each other. 1 point for every time we hit each other. It's great fun. When I came home after my first tomato fight, I was worried. Now Mum will be really angry, I thought. My clothes are so dirty and they smell bad. Mum was surprised when she saw me walk through the door. But she wasn't angry at all. "Did you have a good time?" she asked. "Yes, thanks, Mum. It was great," I replied. She smiled. Chapter 4. The Old Man, April 1973. "Are you ready to play invisible football?" I said one day to the other boys. "No," said Kevin. "I'm tired of playing that game." "So am I," said Clive, who always agreed with everything that Kevin said. So that was the end of invisible football. They were bored with it, and they were bored with me and David as well. There was nothing we could do. "I was tired of playing with them anyway," said David. But I didn't believe him. We were happy playing with the other boys. We felt like we belonged to the group. We felt important. But now we were just egg and bacon again. We were alone. "Well, if nobody wants to play with us anymore, we'll do something else," I said. "What?" asked David. "I don't know." Andrew didn't know either. But then I had an idea. "Let's read some of our books. There are a lot of adventures in those stories. Maybe they'll give us some ideas." So we read. We read during break time. We read at home. We took as many books as we could home with us from the school library. Then we talked about what we read. It was good to live inside those stories and then to share them with David. We often sat on the grass at his farm and talked about the stories while eating banana sandwiches. "Hey, you know what?" I said one day. "What?" asked David. "It's my birthday next weekend. My dad asked me what I want for my birthday, and I said I wanted to go to London. Dad said I can bring a friend. Do you want to come with me?" "Yes," he shouted happily. "Let's go to London. We can go to the zoo and to the Natural History Museum. I'd really like to go there." "Me too," I said. "Let's do it." The next day was Monday. I didn't even care when the other children called me Egghead. All I could think about was London. What an adventure! The week passed slowly. Then Saturday arrived. The big day. Mum made me some sandwiches, and I put them in my bag. "Have a great time," said Mum, "and put your coat on if it rains. I don't want you to get wet." "Okay, Mum," I said. And then I ran out of the door, and Dad and I drove to David's house. It was a wonderful day. David bought me a present, a plane. You had to make it yourself. The picture of it on the box looked really good. We visited the zoo first. I liked the monkeys best, but the tigers and lions were also really interesting. Then we went to Hyde Park. "Let's go on a boat," I said. Good idea, said David. We both tried to move the boat to the other side of the lake, but we weren't very good. We just went round and round in a circle. We weren't going anywhere. David and I started laughing, and soon we were very wet. I was happy that Mum couldn't see us. After half an hour, a man started shouting at us. That's 30 minutes. Now you have to come back. But it took a long time to get back to where the man was waiting. We weren't very good on the water, but it was fun. After that, we went to the National History Museum. It was a very old museum. The zoo was full of living animals, but this was full of dead things. There were lots of dinosaurs and all kinds of insects. It was very interesting. The best bit was when we saw a little piece of the moon. Just imagine, I said. This rock was on the moon. I'd like to go there one day. Well, maybe for your next birthday, said David, smiling. We got back from London quite late, but Mum was waiting for me at the door. Did you enjoy yourselves? Asked Mum. Oh, yes, Mum. We went to the zoo, then to Hyde Park, and then to the Natural History Museum. Oh, Mum, it was the best day ever. Mum seemed pleased. She smiled to herself. It was nice to see her so happy. Soon it was Monday morning again. As usual, I walked up the hill. After such an exciting weekend, it was difficult to think of school. On my way up the hill, I saw the old man sitting in his usual place. "Hello, Cherub," he said, as he always did. "Hello. You're always so nice to me," I said. "What's your name?" "My name's Colin, but everybody calls me Tom." "Pleased to meet you, Tom," I said, smiling. "Why do you always sit here?" "Well, it stops me feeling lonely, you know. Sitting here gives me a chance to meet people. People like you. I've always lived here on this street, you know. I've seen a lot of things in my time on this street. We only see them in that moment. We don't have a full picture of their lives. I just saw Tom as an old man. For me, he was always an old man, but once he was young like me." "Will you be here tomorrow?" I asked. "Yes, of course," said Tom. "If I leave for school a little earlier, we could have a chat, if you like." "Well, bless your heart," said Tom. "Not many children are like you. You're special. Of course I'll be here. I'd like to know something about you too. I'll see you tomorrow then." "Okay, Tom," I said. "See you tomorrow." What a nice man, I thought. And he called me special. Nobody has ever called me special before, except Mum and Dad. But mums and dads always say things like that, even if it's not true. Well, maybe I am special. With that thought and a smile on my face, I went up the hill to begin another week of school. Chapter 5. Tom's Story. The next morning I got up early to speak to Tom. I had a lot of questions. "Why do you call me Cherub?" I asked. It means little angel. I'm no angel. The other children at school always call me names, but not nice names like that. What do they call you then? Asked Tom. Egghead mostly. Egghead, I see. Well, what's wrong with that name? I started to explain, but he soon stopped me. I've never noticed that. That's not important. But egghead means something else. What does it mean? I asked. It means clever. Really clever. It's a good word for you. You seem like a very clever boy to me. I didn't know that egghead had two meanings. Clever. Me. Clever. Of course you're clever, said Andrew. You're good at your schoolwork. You always answer the teacher's questions. In fact, schoolwork is quite easy for you. Thank you, Andrew, I said silently. I said goodbye to Tom and promised to see him the next day. I went to school feeling much happier. At school that day, there was a French test. All the children had to recite the verb, to be. I knew all the answers. Je suis, tu es, il est. I looked around the class. Kevin and Clive weren't doing very well. They started to move their mouth up and down, but you could tell that they didn't really know the answers. Maybe Tom was right. I am quite clever. Every morning I went to speak to Tom, and every morning we had a really nice chat. It made me feel much better about going to school. One day Tom said to me, Michael, does it make you sad when the children call you names? Yes, it does, I answered. It hurts me inside. It makes me feel alone. I've got a friend, David. He knows how I feel. He's my only real friend at school. You know, said Tom, these children who call you names don't really know you. You shouldn't worry about what they say. But it's difficult not to worry and feel sad, I said. Just remember, they don't know you, said Tom. So if they don't know you, what they say isn't important. Don't let it hurt you inside. Remember, everybody who cares about you and knows you, your mum and dad, David and me, don't call you names. The others aren't important. But they're so horrible to me. Well, just try and remember what I said. Then you'll feel better. You'll see. I know it's difficult to understand, but let me tell you a story. See that house there? Which one? That one, I asked, pointing to the house across the street. Yes, that one. Well, during the war, a bomb fell on that house and I went in. It was on fire. People were frightened. There were 3 children. I got them out. They were alive. They're older now. They've moved on to a different place. All the people I knew have all gone, moved away to new lives. Nobody remembers me. I don't know most of the people who live here now. It's nice to see a friendly face like yours. Wow, I said. That's all I could say. It was incredible. I didn't know anything about this. People should know about things like this, I said. Why don't they know? You're a hero. People don't want to know about the past, said Tom. They're too busy with their lives to worry about me. They just think I'm a useless old man. But I don't get angry about it. The people who live here now don't know me. So how can I be angry with them? Well, I thought, if Tom can do that, why can't I? At least I can try. That day at school, I had a swimming lesson. I like swimming. The other kids bullied me, as always. Eggheads can't swim, their heads are too big, was what they said. But when I'm swimming, I can put my head under the water. It's so quiet there. I can see all the arms and legs of the other boys, but I can't hear them. Under the water, I thought of what Tom said to me. They don't know me. When the lesson finished, I went into the changing room. The next class was getting ready to swim. When they saw me come in, they started to sing. They call him Egghead. He has the biggest head you've ever seen. I looked at them, and again I remembered what Tom said. I had my mum and my dad, Andrew, David, and now Tom. They loved me. For the first time I thought, I don't need them. They can say what they want. I forgive them because they only have a photograph of me. They don't really know me. Just like I didn't know Tom at first. They don't know the whole story. I smiled to myself. Then a strange thing happened. The singing stopped. I got dressed quickly. It was break time and I wanted to tell David what happened. They stopped singing, you say? Said David. Yes, I know they won't stop forever, I said. They never stop. But the important thing is, I don't care anymore. Try and do the same thing. That's all I'm saying. Okay, said David. I'll try, but it's not going to be easy. After break time, we had an English lesson, but we had quite a surprise. There was a new teacher. Her name was Mrs. Hewitt. She had curly brown hair and a kind face. I knew I was going to like her a lot. Okay, class, said Mrs. Hewitt. I don't know you, and I want to learn something about you. That's why I want you to do some writing for me. Oh, no, said the class. Oh, yes, said Mrs. Hewitt. It's a good way to get to know you better. So I want you to write about an important person in your life. The best essay will get a prize. What's the prize, miss? Asked Sally. He or she will read their essay in front of the school next week. I was very excited. This was the best prize ever. When school finished, I wanted to speak to Andrew about it. Just think, Andrew, to read my essay in front of the school. I'd really like that. If I win, I can tell everybody about a person who's important to me. Writing about somebody is like telling a story, don't you think? A story of their life. We all have a story, you know. It's just that often people don't want to hear it. But when they do, they realize how interesting it's. Yes, you're right, Michael. We all have a story. Well, whose story do you want to tell? Asked Andrew. I'm not sure, I said. I have to think for a moment. Let's think together then, said Andrew. I sat on my bed with Andrew, and I thought about all the people I know. After 2 or 3 minutes, I had an idea. I know who I can write about, I said. So do I, said Andrew. Andrew and I thought of the same thing. We both thought of the same person. I know Andrew, I said. I was thinking of him as well. Let's write about him. I'll help you if you want, said Andrew. Who was this person? I think you know. Chapter 6. The Prize. The next day, Mrs. Hewitt gave us 1 hour to write. Andrew helped me with some words, but I did most of it by myself. I wrote so much, and the hour passed very quickly. Okay, class, put your pens down. I'll have a look at your work during the weekend. It was the weekend, my favourite time of the week. I'll probably go and see David at the farm, I thought. I've got lots of books to read. But the first thing I wanted to do on Saturday morning was to see Tom. On Saturday morning I got up early and went up the hill. Where are you going? Asked Mum. I'm going to see a friend, I said. Who? David? Asked Mum. No, somebody else? Mum smiled to herself as I ran out of the door. Tom, there you are, I said. Good morning, cherub. What are you doing here? There's no school today. I know, but I wanted to speak to you. I had to write something at school yesterday. It was an essay, and I wrote about you. About me. Why? Because I had to write about somebody who's important to me. Well, bless your heart, Michael. That's very nice of you. I'd like to read it. You will one day, and maybe lots of other people will hear your story too. I wanted to win this prize so badly. For the first time, I wanted the weekend to end quickly. I wanted to go back to school to see if Mrs. Hewitt liked my essay. On Monday morning, I ran up the hill. I stopped to say hello to Tom, and then I went to school. The first lesson was art. I drew the road and the hill that I walked up every day. My picture had a lot of trees and beautiful flowers in it. The sky was blue, and in the distance you could see the bench where Tom sat. The next lesson was science. I tried to listen to the lesson, but I couldn't stop thinking about the essay. I looked out of the window. The school flag was moving around in the wind. I like the wind. It comes from nowhere. You can't see it, but it's so strong. In a way, looking at the flag moving helped me to see the wind. I felt a little bit like the flag. Things happen to me, and I have no control. Just like the flag. Who knows? I thought. where the wind will take me. At break time, I talked to David. We've got English next. I hope I win, David. I really want to win. Well, don't be too sad if you don't win. You told me about that poem, The Monster Horse. Maybe they won't let you read it. Mrs. Hewitt is different. I know she'll like what I wrote. I know, I said. Finally, it was time for English. It was the last lesson of the day. I waited for Mrs. Hewitt to begin. Class, I read your work and corrected it. She looked around the classroom and then she began giving the work back. She said something to everyone. Not bad, she said to Sally. Could do better, she said to Graham. This isn't good enough. You didn't even try, she said to Clive. I can't even read your writing, she said to Kevin. Then she arrived in front of me. I didn't want to look at her. I kept my head down. But Mrs. Hewitt waited until I looked up. She looked at me and smiled. Yours is the best, she said. Keep it that way. So, class, Michael will read his essay at the school assembly next week, said Mrs. Hewitt. Everybody looked at me. I waited for somebody to say something bad, but nobody did. At the end of the class, I ran all the way home. I couldn't wait to get home to tell Mum. Mum, first prize, the essay. The old man, Tom. I have to tell him. I'm going to read it to everyone. Slow down, said Mum. Now tell me, what are you talking about? I told Mum everything about Tom and the essay and what Mrs. Hewitt said. I also told her about Andrew. I even told her about how the other children bullied me. It felt so good to be able to tell my Mum everything. Mum smiled. Oh, Michael, your father and I love you so much. We always have and we always will. Then she took me in her arms and gave me the biggest kiss ever. It's the evening after the school assembly. I'm writing this in my bedroom. I read my essay to the school this morning, and I really want to speak to Andrew about it. Andrew, I read the essay this morning. You haven't spoken to me today. Why's that? Were you at school today? Did you hear me read the essay? I went to the front of the hall with my essay. I was ready to tell everybody about Tom. I looked out at the people in front of me. There was my class, and boys and girls from other classes. Then I saw David. He smiled at me and gave me a big thumbs-up sign. But you won't believe who I saw next. It was my Mum. She was there. What's she doing here, I thought. Then I was even more surprised. I saw that Tom was standing next to her, and there was a man taking photographs. It was all very strange. I read the essay very well. We wrote it together, remember? Even if you weren't there to help me, I didn't make any mistakes. Mrs. Hewitt told me not to speak too fast and to be very clear. So I tried to read it slowly and clearly. I told them all about Tom during the war and what he did for those children. I told them that Tom was a hero and that people shouldn't forget him. At the end, everybody clapped. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody, even Kevin and Clive. I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. But the best thing of all was that I could see Mum and Tom smiling at me. They were really happy. You know what? Tom is going to be in the local newspaper. Mum phoned them to tell them about Tom, and they came to the school that day to speak to him. That's why the man was there taking photographs. They're writing an article about him. The title of the article is going to be Tom Matthews, Local Hero. There will be photos and the article will talk about Tom's life. Oh, Andrew, did you hear me speak? Why weren't you there? Why didn't you speak to me? Andrew, are you there? I don't know where Andrew is. Why isn't he speaking to me at the moment? Perhaps he thinks I don't need him anymore. Andrew has been so important to me and I'll never forget him. But maybe he's right. I miss him, but I don't need him so much anymore. Maybe he's busy helping somebody else now. Maybe he's helping you.